All right, we're live. So this is the continuing committee's May 2020 board meeting. I'm Brian Schaeflein, Director of Ops and Chairman. In attendance, we've got Maggie Geppert, Executive Officer. We got Charlie Plain, Director of First Edition, Nick Yankovic, Director of Second Edition, Chris Sonsonby, Director of Organized Play, and Justin Ford, Chief Financial Officer. So let's approve the minutes from last meeting. Anyone see anything that's wrong with them? No, everyone's shaking their head. So we can get
I
a
move
motion
to
approved.
approve.
I'll second then if Maggie beat me to it.
All right, we'll say Maggie motion, Chris second. Any opposed? All right, consider them approved. On to department reports. Maggie, Executive Officer. Not exactly
Sure.
department, but that's you.
Yeah, that is me. All right. Well, duties within my sphere. From minors, I won't say it's minor stuff, but I did open up a discussion on the period of review board regarding who should be considered a member. And actually, that was a very, very helpful. So far, it's been a very helpful and calm 4-page discussion of the pros and cons of different membership models. So basically, everybody wants. We have a couple of camps where people think that pay to vote is really the only fair way, and make it like everybody pays to vote, including current volunteers, or everybody that we do some sort of member registration and like do a voting registration and confirm that people are confirm that people are involved community members. And I'm not I'm very suspicious of that particular option, just because first off, that seems like that's far too open of a category and way open to abuse, both on the part of voters, but also open accusations of abuse on the part of us.
Maggie, if I can interrupt, we do have that particular thing on the agenda later.
Oh, okay, good.
The period of review membership.
Sorry. Sorry, that's what I get for not like going and reviewing pulling that up just before the meeting. So we can talk about that later. Also, within my sphere of influence, as I've pointed out on the thread in the 2E gameplay board that just blew up, it is my job as executive officer to arbitrate disputes between directors, between different departments. And I took that, we have a, as we'll also talk about second edition a bit, that's the other big thing that's been on my radar this month is getting as our design director says, a bottleneck, getting past a bottleneck in second edition and moving things forward. So those have been the two big things that have been on my agenda, or that I've been able to work on. I still haven't been able to work on the frequently asked questions or diversity statement. That's another thing that has been requested we add to the bylaws as a diversity statement. I don't know what diversity here at the continuing committee looks like. That's probably the next thing that I'm gonna put up a post about, is what does diversity look like here? As I look at 5 faces of white guys, mostly American, mostly Anglo. So that's a question of what does diversity mean here in the continuing committee. So that's still on my radar of things to do. I'm hoping that now that the summer semester has started for me, I've got a couple of big things that I still have to finish with my class for the summer, but I'm hoping that that's going to settle down in the next week or so, and hopefully find more time for that. So that's my report.
Okay, Charlie, first edition.
Yes, hello. First edition. I've been hinting for a couple months that things are happening, and they are starting to happen. The first edition International Demo Day is next Sunday, the 7th. We're going to have a Zoom hangout going, and people are going to be there to teach people how to use Lackey, how to play 1E, answer questions about virtual cards, talk about the community. It's basically going to just be a day-long equivalent of a table at a con. You know, we're going to be there for people to come up and ask questions and get demos and stuff like that. So I'm excited about that. We've been planning that in one form or another for a while. Daniel Madison, our former director of communications, originated the idea. So thank you for him for that. And we just decided to run with it. So we're going to see how that goes. There's an article on the front page with more information, and there will be a subsequent article this week with more details. The other big announcement since the last meeting is we're sort of refocusing the errata team into what we're internally, unofficially calling the balance team, because it's complicated, and you can go read the article. But essentially, we're tasking the new balance team. The old errata team is now the balance team, with more than just issuing errata. Their job is to look at the state of the game, mostly at a competitive level, but not entirely, and make adjustments. Pull things back that are too good. That's going to allow us, and we've structured the team in such a way to allow us to be much more rapidly responding than we've been in the past. One of the criticisms, a fair criticism, is that it takes us too long to recognize a problem and then to fix it. 22nd Century being a good example. I think we've done a lot better job with TOS, recognizing that it was a problem and taking some action. But yes, the balance team is going to be able to be much more aggressive with, this is a problem, we're going to ban it. This is a problem, we have a fix for it, let's put it out there. This is a problem, let's put it on the watch list. So the watch list was sort of the preemptive step to this. You know, the watch list is going to be busy. We're going to put cards on there when they're a problem. And then the balance team's job is to sort of fix everything. So I'm excited to get that going. We're currently searching for a internal candidate to take the lead position. And then we're going to be searching for volunteers to join the team. The team is structured so that lost my train of thought. The team is structured that it's rotating. So there'll be a new member every 3 months. The majority of the team stays. The balance team never changes. The lead never changes, but the other 4 members rotate. So we'll constantly be bringing in fresh energy and fresh perspectives. I'm excited to see that. So we're going to start making. I've said for a while, internally and externally, that the game is, if the game is a ship, an ocean ship, we're doing fine. We're sailing. We're not taking on water, but we're not really driving where we think we're driving. We're kind of listing. The wheel's a little off kilter. So the balance team is the first step in getting that corrected, getting us back on course, so that we can then start looking at the ship in detail structurally and making luxury changes you can't make when you're taking on water. You know, the game has, stupid dog, stop it. Nola, sorry. Nola doesn't agree with me. Things are going well otherwise. We are, Project Londo is the Klingon TOS set, and it gets going well. It's getting tested. There's some fun stuff in there that I really like. Some good Klingon-y feeling stuff. I have Monday is the first Monday of the month, so expect some news, including a project update thread, because it's been a couple months since we did the last one of those. So there's going to be a bunch of new projects announced and some details about existing projects updated, and there will be some errata coming out. So everything's plugging along pretty great, and we do have more really cool things coming. There's an awesome program that we've done before that we're desperately trying to get ready to relaunch. It is taking me much longer than I would have liked to get through it. All of our volunteers are very busy, but there's still much awesome 1E coming down the road, and I'm looking forward to bringing it to you. But all of our staffing levels are good. We're no real major incidents, and
Tribbles.
Tribbles came out. Yeah, we put out. That's right. I forgot. I keep forgetting that Tribbles. We put out a new Tribbles set. A Tribble of a different color. It's pretty fun. I've had good feedback from it. There's a cycle of 6 new powers that are sort of make their own deck, which is fun. Double is a power that lets you get double bonuses, which is pretty cool, and I'm told it's really good. A lot of people are having fun playing with their kids. Brian Sykes in particular has been sending me regular texts with him beating up on his children with Tribbles, so that's exciting. And we're already starting discussions about what we're going to do next year, which is going to be some sort of, I don't want to use reset, but we're poking around in that space of sort of bringing Tribbles back to it's not going to be Tribbles 2E, it's not going to be Tribbles OTF, it's probably going to be more like just a new coat of paint type of thing. We haven't really figured what out that is yet, so nobody freak out. But we have a lot of powers in Tribbles right now, and it needs to be looked at. So that's what we're doing right now. But the plan is to go back to annual releases and have fun playing Tribbles. So one other thing I did want to mention, I forgot to mention, we have a public playtesting tournament starting Friday, June 5th. It's TNG only card pool. If you're at all interested, join the tournament. If you can't join the tournament or don't want to play online, it'd be really helpful if you'd build a deck or two and tell us about your experiences. I tried to build a deck, but I absolutely can't play without X card. Would be useful to know, or things like that. So we're making progress. We're doing things. We're making changes. So I'm happy with where 1E is.
Sorry,
what was
Charlie,
that?
Is that TNG property logo, including like dilemmas, events, interrupts?
Every card in your deck that is not a mission has to have a TNG property logo. So that's the card pool. So
Okay.
Obviously people will probably be playing TNG decks, but you have to use TNG dilemmas, TNG verbs, TNG support cards. It's interesting what that takes away that you take for granted, like dead end. Can't play dead end.
Defend Homeworld goes away too, yeah. I think.
No defend homeworld, no mission debriefing, no Horda. There's a lot of staple dilemmas that you can't use rules of obedience, It's changed. It's an interesting card pool. That's why we're testing it out. So if you're interested, you can go to the organized play forums, the online tournament thread, and there's a link there. And there will be an article going up Monday or Tuesday reminding people about it to sign up to. So I'm excited. We're doing cool things.
Charlie, just as a quick question regarding that card pool, are there going to be any new cards? Like, I mean, obviously you don't need to name them, but in design, they're going to be TNG focused. So like once you guys figure out, hey, whatever it is, this affiliation needs a draw engine or something that's TNG property logo, do you think that'll then dovetail into design going forward?
Absolutely. So the goal of this, there has been a desire for a long time for a constructed format with a smaller card pool. And we tried block and it didn't really land. It still exists. And then TNG block was the most successful of those limited formats. So the thought was, what if we defined it by property logo? Because that's by now a familiar concept for 1E players. And there's the legitimate criticism of it's hard to figure out what's legal based on a list of legal cards, which is what our blocks are right now, basically. It's like, these are the cards you're allowed to use. So defining it by property logo seems like a good solution to that problem. That's why we're making this format. But the other advantage is exactly what you said, is that we can, through virtual promos or re-releases or new cards, we can expand that card pool at a much slower rate than the complete card pool, but give them what they want. So yeah, if one of the things we're trying to figure out, the primary thing is this fun? Is this card pool fun? Are the players that are playing in it, I enjoyed this, except for A, B, and C. And if A, B, and C are correctable problems, then that card pool format has legs. If it's, I didn't enjoy this at all, it was way too limited, then we probably look for something else. But yes, every time we make a new card, if we choose to make it TNG, that adds to that card pool. And it is something that the testers will have to keep an eye on. But you know, if we realize that TNG Klingons need a draw engine, for example, we could create that. And we could create a Klingon drawing engine and then just put a TNG property logo on it, and bam, it's added to that format. So, but we'll also be doing AIs. Like, I fully expect coming out of this to release a set of promos that is TNG reskins of staple cards that the format needs. So, that's definitely one of the goals, and I'm hoping that the format ends up having legs so that we can use it, because it will fill a niche in our play roster.
I'll be curious to see how many legit Klingon decks, because I think that's been the strongest version of TNG. How many people
See, it's
play
funny
that?
because I get told constantly that TNG Klingons are terrible. And,
What?
My
What?
world's performance begs to differ.
We'll see. I don't want to dominate with one e-talk, so I'm gonna move on to the next person. But
Right.
All right, Nick, second edition.
Hello. All right. I'll go through the upcoming sets first. I've got a few dates on possible releases. But all these dates are still subject to confirmation that all the departments can achieve what I'm going to list, but hopefully they should all be achievable. Project Bruce. We believe we've now sorted out all the potential rules issues with this set. It's going back into testing for the final go through this Monday for probably 2 weeks. Then we'll go straight to creative, followed by art, and I'm aiming for a mid-August release date for Project Bruce. Project Clark. Right, so we've now split Project Clark into 2 sets, Clark A and Clark B. Clark A is going into playtesting on the 8th of June with a targeted release date of 2nd of October. There are some concerns about that date, but we're gonna try and hit that one. Clark B is going into playtesting 10th of August, and there's a targeted release date of 4th of December. Then we're down to Project Diana. This is still being worked on, but it's looking pretty good so far. Danny's a lead on this set. I think he's doing a good job. We're looking to take that into playtesting 12th of October with an anticipated release 19th of February. You may notice those sets, Bruce, Clark A, Clark B and Diana, they've been in development for quite a long time now. It's my intention to have these sets released in relatively short order, one every 2 months, if we can manage that. And then following Diana, we're going to go back to a quarterly schedule of releases. Right, playtesting. I am hoping I should be in a position to announce a playtest manager by the 7th of June, all ready for when Clark A goes into testing on the 8th of June. That's if he accepts the position, fingers crossed. Design. Right, so we're sorted out till beginning of next year. I've got to sit down with Nathan over the next few weeks and just work out how we're going to proceed after Diana. Rules. So we've started to proceed with assigning a member of the rules committee to each new set before playtesting begins. The idea behind this is to find and correct any rules issues before the playtesters begin their work. We've already got someone looking at the rules on Clark A right now. So hopefully we can look at those cards. Any big rules issues will come up before it goes into playtesting. Now, finally, just an update on my personal life. Due to some current issues in my personal life, both directly and indirectly related to COVID-19, I've been relying on my staff a bit more to carry a bit of my workload for me. And I've asked Jark to temporarily assist me in the director duties. And this is so we can ensure we meet the dates above. Apologies about that. There's been quite a bit going on the past couple of months, as you're probably aware. So hopefully it shouldn't affect these sets coming out too much now. And that's pretty much my 2E report. Okay.
Nick, I have a question.
Yep.
For the last couple of years, we've had a set, Project Donar, that's been like a projected Christmas set.
Mm-hmm.
So have you gotten a chance to look at this? Do you have any, because I'm just thinking about timelines and stuff, and if this is ever going to, if the Christmas half of it is ever going to get released. It started as the Valentine's set. So we had Donar A and Donar B, and the Valentine's set got released as Cupid. But I'm curious about the Christmas part of that set. If you had any thoughts on that.
Hang on 1 second. Right, I've got some information on that, but if I can come back to you on that, Maggie.
Oh, sure thing. And I, I think we have, I just wanted to make sure that that it was on your radar, because I do hear from time to time people say, well, what happened with that, with Project Donar? So I was, and I hadn't heard, and I didn't know if you were even aware that there was a set of cards that people have been working on.
Yeah, I'll look into that, and then if I can, I'll issue a statement which can be added onto the minutes of this report. That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else?
Any other questions? Okay. So normally this would be the spot where the director of communications chimes in, but we're still searching for a director of communications. Does anyone have anything communications department related they'd like to speak on?
Well, I can say that I still have not received any applications for that post. I have received no applications for a chief ambassador. Proofreading has been doing a good job, keeping, that team is working just fine. We haven't had anything for the writing team, either writing team per se, because we don't have any sets coming out. I would love to see people saying, doing more articles. I have articles on my thing. I have a list here. It sits next to me of Trek CC projects, and some of those include, like, this is an article I want to write, and this is a series of articles I want to write. So, if we have people who are interested, want to know about topics or have ideas for articles they want to write for content for the site, come join the writing team. But yeah, and if you're interested in being director of communications, if you want to spend your Saturday morning here with us as the director of communications, once a month, please come and apply. We are still accepting applications, and that the link to that application is on the site. So if you if you click on volunteer at the top, we are currently hiring chief ambassador and director of communications. Links for both of those applications are on the site.
Just have a real quick clarification point, and I know everybody here is doing what they can. Have we asked people if they want those positions, and if so, have we just been told they don't? Is that, I'm assuming that's where we're at in the process right now.
Well, I have, there's a person that I'm thinking of who would do really well as director of communications. And so I made sure to send that person a PM saying, hey, you might be interested in this spot. I know it's in your skill set, and I have received nothing back. They read it. But yeah, no, it's, yeah, and I can, I can only twist arms so much in terms of that
Absolutely.
sort of thing.
No malice in the question. I'm
Yeah,
wondering
no.
for public, like, have we actually asked people and they've said no? I know Charlie and I talked privately once about potential for a chief ambassador. We both had a guy, same guy, I think, that we thought we maybe ask. I don't know where that is, if that person has said no or what the story was.
If you have somebody you want as chief ambassador, go ask or tell me and I'll go ask.
I didn't want to like ask if 3 other people already had, I guess is really what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no, send me a PM and we can talk about that. Oh, Charlie, go ahead.
At one point, we had talked about eliminating chief ambassador and just putting the ambassadors under you, Maggie. Is that something that we've discussed at all, or still considering, or?
We haven't really gone any further with that. I mean, I feel like I would prefer it to be, to have somebody who can give that position the attention that it needs. Because unfortunately, I feel like I can't give it the attention that position needs at this moment in time. Foolishly, my academic department decided to make me chair for the next 3 years. So they all lost their collective minds. So
yeah, I would put forth then, why don't we give it, some time frame, right? If it's 60 days, that position's not been filled. Honestly, to me, chief ambassador is a tag team of Maggie's position and mine. And if her and I need to tag team it, so it's not just wandering in the wilderness by itself indefinitely because no one wants to do it. Brian, what do you think about that? If we just say, 60 days from now, if we still don't have anybody in this role, we'll figure it out internally, put it under mine or Maggie's.
I was going to suggest that we set a time limit for both positions, and if at that time we can't find a chief ambassador, there's no interest whatsoever in a director of communications, we might have to modify the bylaws to eliminate those positions entirely, and then fold the responsibilities, whether that's splitting it between all of us or sending it under one other department, whatever that is.
okay.
If those positions are never going to be filled, then we just have to pick up the slack somewhere else. But what is that time frame? What do you guys think that time frame should be? Like, because that would be a big change on the directorship to eliminate one whole position. So how much time is appropriate for that, do you think?
60 days is probably fine. Like I agree too, because the writing team, Daniel running the writing team and Austin taking care of social media, those are fairly independent positions and don't really need much oversight. So yeah, I'd say 60 days, like Chris said.
And obviously now, if let's say there's somebody in the community who wants to be an ambassador and we don't have a chief ambassador, please respond to somebody here on this forum or myself directly, and we'll figure it out. We as a team can handle it, I think, the 6 of us, because that's obviously always been a very important thing. People interested in the game, both online and locally. And if you want to be your local ambassador, let us know. We can make it work. I'm confident in that.
So if we were to say that we're going to schedule those agenda items for August's board meeting, that should be enough time? It would actually be more than 60 days, but it's a couple of board meetings away.
That works for me.
That works, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll put that in the note for the future agenda then. But in the meantime, yeah, let's still try to fill those spots rather than plan to eliminate them.
All right, so that's on my back on my list, on my to-do list, is to keep to remind myself to keep pushing those, to keep advertising those open positions. Hey, we need a volunteer. Hey, we need a volunteer. You know, come
I'll
join
send
us in
I'll
these
send a
meetings.
message to the guy I was thinking of today, right after this meeting. My phone's not right at hand, but otherwise I would do it right now.
Okay. Anything else anyone can think of for communications? All right. Next up is ops, which is me. So we've implemented a new source control solution for the programming team, which is helping the programming team to actually make small changes continuously. No one should notice any of them, but almost every day now, small things are being upgraded or updated in the code. So that's it's a very small step that should have a very big impact going forward. Let's see what else. Got a request from Marcus Eberlein to see if we can crowdsource some images for the first edition tournament foils that Decipher made, and also the 2E A-lettered cards and the foils from that edition too. So if you do have those and you think you could get a scan of them, get in touch with Eberlims on the forum. He posted a thread in both 1E and 2E. So if you can contribute to that, I know he would appreciate it. And then we'd have images for those cards in the database too, rather than just showing a card back, which I guess some people find annoying. I don't think there's any other big news from ops for this month. So organized play. Chris, how about you? You're on mute.
Yep, yeah, I know. I'm just watching some guy in a stroller like rolling into my middle of my yard. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, dude? Sorry. Squirrel. So organized play. Obviously the big thing is we continue to kind of live in this COVID-19 world where you can't really get together in person. Lots of tournaments are happening online. I really appreciate all those event organizers, you know, TK, John, Daniel, people who are running events, MVB day of, so you kind of getting that feel. I know Jules and a number of other people across both Europe and America are playing in those, having a lot of fun. And you know, we're very much in support of that. Keep doing that, keep playing as much as you can and being engaged in the forums. I know for months I'd been talking about the organized play guide updates. With living in the COVID world and trying to figure out some other things, that's kind of been put on the back burner. I feel at this point the organized play guide, which was not going to be updated substantially, it was mostly typos, one new format which John Carter's already been given blessing that 1E format's going to go in. And in the future we will be looking at taking off hand down buys, but again this year that doesn't seem like something we need to do. It feels punitive for people who have not been able to play. So expect the organized play guide to stay in effect the rest of the calendar year, and we'll pick it up again, probably early release in 2021, if there's anything else that we need to address. I have had some suggestions on clearing up commentary on deck lists. I've had some commentary on cleaning up, like, understanding that your online persona and online participation in tournaments is equivalent to you being in person. So you should not be disparaging people. You should not be, you know, ghosting people, all those other things. So we're going to put some of that into the guide as we update it. So it'll be a little bit more robust. But yeah, expect that particular update to just in 2020 leave it alone. 2021 we'll pick it up and it'll have more in there than it would have this year. And then obviously the other really big topic in the organized play world is our main events, Continentals and Worlds. We as a group have met. A number of you on this panel actually met with us as well when we discussed what we're going to do going forward. And we are expecting to make an announcement hopefully this week via an article, a front page article, which will describe what we're going to be doing throughout the remainder of the year. So I would just caution you, if you are planning to attend one of them, just wait, hold off on buying any tickets, travel, whatever, until you know exactly when those dates are going to happen. So that's my big, report. At this point, I just want people to keep playing, play as much as you can, play online, play in person, and continue to be engaged, plugged in on the forums, because we're all in this together, obviously, in this crazy COVID world we're living in right now. Any questions from the panel for me I can field? I don't think I have any questions in the chat, right?
No, I've been watching the chat. Well, I haven't been watching the chat room. I've been watching the Google. I've been watching the YouTube feed. We've got no questions there. Is anybody in the chat room?
Well, I don't think the public comment either, right? I didn't see anything for organized play.
Yeah, and I don't see anything on any of the Discord channels, so nope.
There's a question for Brian, actually.
Yeah.
Will the source code repository you created make transitioning to the redesign an easier process?
It's complicated.
That's why I'm glad you're answering it.
Yes and no. A lot of the code will be the same when the first transition occurs, which would be moving to new or updated technologies. Right now, we are updating code to be used on the old technologies the site currently has, that the server currently has. Once we upgrade the server, that code will then be updated for instance, new version of PHP. But part of what we're doing now is changing code so that when that comes, there are less of those issues that need to be updated. So we're changing some of the code to work both on the old technologies and the new technologies. Right now, a lot of the code will just simply break if we switch to a new server. So yes, the new source control helps for that process of upgrading the site. It will not necessarily be a switch we can flip. So it's not like it is the solution for upgrading the server, but it does help. Hopefully that answers the question. Anything else? All right, Justin, over to finance. What's going on?
Oh yeah, not much going on. Obviously, with whole COVID and slowing down, slowing down tournaments in person. The promenades really slowed down. I'm hoping that backlog that we talked about last month is getting cleared. So when COVID restrictions are eased up, our promenade is ready to go for people to get their tournament kits to start having tournaments again in person. But yeah, registration is complete. I just wish I could automate the annual report. It's once a year, and I have to put the reminder on my calendar for next year, so we don't ever forget. So yeah, all's quiet on the front. Haven't heard much from Jeremy. Haven't seen an invoice for the Worlds promos. I don't know, have the Worlds promos and the Continental promos, have those already been printed, Maggie?
Because we haven't solved the problem with the paper yet. So we need to decide if we're going to just print them on a regular foil paper this year, or we're going to keep waiting. I heard the guy finally answered me, and he's like, "We found a bunch. Do you want it?" And I emailed him and said yes, and he never got back to me. Very frustrating. So I'm still working on sourcing it. But.
Yeah, I'm okay at this point saying that those promos need to go on the regular silver paper, and that'll ease up things for Jeremy too, in terms of printing, because we can send him a bunch of different things to get printed, and we can do a big set to get printed all in one go. I'd love to see like the new Tribbles set go out as, you know, get a bunch of those as promos. You know, that is the new promo set for Tribbles tournament kits. The ambassador promos for 2020, you know, we're halfway through the year. I want to get those out to the ambassadors. So I think at this point in time, and I have an idea for the world's promos also that I want. I need how they're marked, but that's something that we can talk about a little later.
The Continental promos are done. I can send those to Jeremy. The World's promos actually I was digging through my files and I didn't find them, and I emailed Johnny and he's like, I have them designed, but there's no art. So he reached out to Tim, who does the art of those, and he's like, I really dropped the ball on this. So they should be done in another week, and then we can get them through the process. I just sent the new 2E set promo. I got that and sent that off to get done. And if I can put a rush on the Londo promo and get it locked in, I can order all of that stuff at once. So we can put in a big order here soon.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if you're looking for a vote, but I would agree with the group. Let's just use the paper we have, get those promos made.
We've kind of merged two topics here, so we'll probably end up skipping the rainbow foil agenda item later. But it was part of the finances as well, so I guess that's whatever.
Right.
Anything?
We talk on it. Well, as long as we stick to it, right? Who cares if we do it in order? Let's just jump around.
Right. Anything else, Justin?
You know, it's been quiet. Not just good. Because thankfully work is also quieting down, kind of. I don't want to say, I shouldn't have said that because I'll jinx myself and work is going to get insane again. In this world we live in, we're really busy. I think we're going to have a record-breaking month at work, so it's definitely been crazy times we're living in. This is, as work would say, this is our new normal. COVID has created a new normal, and this is life now. We just got to deal with it and live and still function. So. And
then set your neighborhood on fire, like what's happening here. That's that was the other reason.
No, I mean, it's not a squirrel on me. Yeah, I just saw they charged the guy.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't want to derail it. I'm just saying now. Some of you know, some of you don't. Jeremy does live very close to this area, so obviously, the sooner we can get him what we need, the better. Then we're not a burden. He can either get it done when he has time, or he can get it done this week. Who knows? So yeah, I just again more pressing of why we should make that decision and get it.
I just know he wants big orders right now, so the bigger order we can get him.
Yep, exactly.
It's that line of sooner or bigger.
Yep.
Yeah, and if we want to go big, I would love to see, this is just me as a collector talking, I would love to see reprints of all of the archive portraits that the CC has released. So for second edition, like the improved scenery and Ishariyar, and those are highly sought after cards from collectors. I think
Mona Loves It was one of those too, right? I remember vaguely.
Yeah, Mona Loves It and the Pandari Champion. Yeah, so
how many of those were actually foiled though? I don't think any of them were. I think those were leaked promos and they were never foiled.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know, but even like so I don't know how many of them were released. I don't remember, but people do ask about that from time to time. So that could be something that we could put in and offer as another cool thing in the raffles. But so we don't have to do that. That's just, that was just another thing that I was thinking of. If we ever wanted to fill in, a bigger order for Jeremy, that might be something to do. Or the rotation damage markers for first edition. Again, I don't know if those were ever released or how they were released, because I wasn't paying attention to. Those would be cool. I don't know if those were ever released because I wasn't paying attention to first edition back in 2008. But that would also be something interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if those were ever foils because I don't know that I ever paid attention to the foils then.
The
But-
rotation
but-
damage markers.
Yeah, but they have very nice images, and I think they'd
They-
make very good foils.
They were foils. I think we had the last set that went out as a prize was Worlds 2015 in Australia. I think was the last of. So yeah, and they are popular.
I keep one in my decks. I think it's awesome. It's foil. The board keep getting blown up.
Okay, I think that's a great idea if we're filling in a large order, have more stock that people want. So why not? All right. So everything got mixed up. The old business has almost entirely been discussed already, but moving on to that, there is the search for director of communications, which we've discussed, and I think we mostly sorted what we were planning to do on that. We're still searching, but we now have a kind of internal deadline for if that search isn't concluded by then, we were going to change tack. Rainbow foil paper. Just got done talking about that. So moving on. New business definition of membership for the purposes of period review. Now, Maggie, let loose. You're on mute though.
Yeah, I mean, basically it comes down to there's more or less two trains of thought on this, which is let everybody vote or make everybody pay to vote. I think this hybrid system we've got right now of volunteers can vote, or if you're not volunteering for something, you have to pay $5 to vote is probably not tenable, sustainable. That and for my own personal philosophy, I do not like the idea of me personally vetting a registered list of voters. That just puts the hair up on the back of my neck, because that leaves me personally and the continuing committee as a whole open to charges of favoritism. Like, I could, somebody, and also what's the rule for, are you somebody who is, a stakeholder in the game? We have people, people say, well, you should be playing in tournaments. Well, we have people like Nob the Hobbit, who I think has never ever played in a tournament here, but he posts on the boards all the time. Or vice versa. We've got people like, there's a group in the Bay Area that plays tournaments on a regular basis, and ostensibly one of them is an ambassador, but I haven't seen this person post on the boards in a decade. So this is saying who's a stakeholder, us making some sort of rules for who is a stakeholder, who should have the privilege of voting is, I just find that very, that's too much of a Gordian knot in my mind. So the cut for that knot is the idea of everybody has to pay. You have to pay to vote, and which I also don't like, because that feels like a poll tax, which is historically bad in the U.S. So that's basically where the discussion is at. Is like, how do we make this system work? And of course, on top of this is this persistent idea that asking people to pay money to vote in the period of review is a revenue grab on our part, which is not, and it never has been. So I'm going to put that out there. That I find, that's vexing to me. That's perceived that the reason we do this is to make money. The reason we're doing that is to make money, and I don't. That's never been in my head. In terms of the idea of, if you've got a premium membership, you can vote. So yeah, I don't know. That's
from
where
what I understood. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's where the discussion's sitting right now, and where it's sort of wound down to.
From what I understood, the paid membership tier as the deciding factor of whether or not you get to vote in the period review was just the least bad option at the time. Like, basically, yeah, all those different scenarios had something wrong with them, and it just was that the paid membership, you know, it still had something wrong with it. It was just the least bad of all of the options available at the, at the time.
Yeah, and I don't like it. And Ben Hosp, even when he proposed it, and he says nobody's gonna like this idea, and he's right. Nobody likes the idea, but as you said, it's the least bad option. And I am intrigued and by the idea of having it be a separate thing from the premium membership, that that everybody who, even if you're a volunteer, you have to pay this. You have to pay this to be able to vote in the period of review. So it's.
I have a question. So I know that there's a comment that it's a revenue grab, right? Isn't it right now? It's $5 for a month of premium membership to then vote.
Yeah.
In pure spitballing, take it for what it's worth. What if we just charge everybody $1, like $1, and you can vote, right? That's clearly not a revenue grab because and it is still kind of a poll tax. I get that, but then everybody in the organization, we would hopefully weed out like the robots, right? You don't want 55 ballots or more from one robot, filling them all out, unless you're going to pay $55 or whatever the case may be. I just imagine you need some type of barrier, whether that's that threshold or what it is, to get to people are voting that actually have an interest in the voting. And I mean, personally, if I had to get my car and drive somewhere to vote, I'd probably spend $1 worth of gas to get there. So I don't know, some small token amount of money just as a barrier, I guess. Is that anybody thinking similar, or what do you guys want to do?
I think that was essentially the original thinking for what we have in place now. And
Yep.
if I had to guess why it's what is the monthly membership right now? $5?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I had to guess on that, probably someone said, if I was malicious, how much money would I be willing to spend to ruin things? And if I was malicious, I'd say, $100. I wouldn't mind spending $100. So in our current system, that's 20 votes. It might swing things if it's close. It probably won't for any normal period of review vote. But if it's $1 and I'm spending $100, that's 100 votes. And
Sure.
some of us, I don't know if we got 100 votes total. So
Sure.
I don't know what the right answer is, but I don't know what that threshold should be if this is the only viable answer.
Right.
Yeah, the number of votes, if I recall correctly, was around 60 to 65 for each of the individual positions.
And I mean, regardless of what you lowered that threshold to, how many more votes are you going to get, right? You have a law of diminishing returns. Maybe you get another 20 or 30 votes if you made it just $1. But I mean, is that enough to swing it in one way or the other? I don't know. And is it worth it? I don't know.
So this is this is probably going to sound like a very bureaucratic suggestion to a segment of the audience that's listening, but we could make a special committee that's a special advisory committee that's focused on this. And I don't know how we would want to structure it, but we could just make a committee that says, find a plan that you like, or find 10 plan that you like, whatever. And then in 60 days, present them to us and we'll see where that goes. It could be a public forum where, everyone can view it and the committee members can post. I don't know how that, the structure of it, but I think that's how things usually work, but who knows if we want that method of going about it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm fine with going ahead and just putting that committee together and just like doing the work, setting a deadline, making a decision well in advance of next year's period of review.
Right, because if we say whatever July meeting is when we want the recommendations to come before the board, then that still gives us 4 or 5 more meetings to iron out whatever wrinkles might be in the plans before there's even a period of review. So
I mean, it's an imperfect system, right? If you have a better suggestion, you're out here out in the community listening to this, by all means, put it forth. I mean, we can vote it up, we can vote it down, we can alter it, whatever you want to do. But no one likes what we currently have, so let's see if there's other options.
There's 2 comments in the chat room from Brian Sykes. Paid membership confers voting rights. Don't confuse that with poll taxes, where it's a block to prevent the exercise of inherent voting rights. Shareholders of a company get their voting rights from buying stock, either through a stock issue, which gives money to the company, or through the open market. IOW, the poll tax comparison is flawed and should be summarily dismissed.
Okay.
Just sharing the comments that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
I think Brian Shikes should be on the committee.
Yeah, no shit.
Well, yeah, my rules gurus, my go-to rules gurus generally are James Heaney and Alan Gould, but they're both very busy right now. So actually, Brian Sykes is pretty busy right now too. Aren't we all? But yeah, I would.
All right, so then let me put it this way. Let's do a vote on creating a special advisory committee for the purpose of coming up with plans to address the membership clause for the period review. How about that? All in favor of this proposal?
Aye.
I
I have some doubters on screen. Nick and Charlie, what what do you guys think? Not in favor?
Charlie and Nick are both muted.
This is important, but I feel like that's jumping the gun. We don't. I mean, can we get a more concrete proposal to vote on than just that? Like, put together a committee to look at the possibility of investigating how the hell we're going to do a thing. Like, that just seems vague. Can we draft an actual proposal for a committee with a specific objective and measurable goals and vote on that?
I suppose so. And if we want to wait another month to get that started, I guess, or we can call a special meeting, which seems unlikely.
Yeah, I can get working on that. Now that we have some feedback from the public, I can put together.
Okay. Okay, so just table the issue for this month, and we'll pick it up next month.
Yep, I'm gonna table that.
To be clear, I'm not opposed to the idea. I just want to make sure that it's
right.
We have a goal. We have
reasonable.
Get on with Charlie on that.
Yep, that's fine. So I'm gonna withdraw that motion, and we'll consider it tabled. How about that? I think that's the extent we can do for that topic right now. So the next one would be rewording the bylaws to allow for more flexibility in team naming and staffing. So this one started off with the idea that Charlie had was, changing up the errata team to become something a little different than what the bylaws stipulate for the errata teams. So we want to look at a way to give the directors more control over, or well, not necessarily more control, but definitely more flexibility in how the teams that work in their departments actually are structured and the jobs that they're completing. Anyone else want to bring something up on this topic? I know I've talked a lot about it in the board's forum, or in the board of directors forum, with suggestions on how we edit the bylaws. And I don't know if we're ready to edit or amend the bylaws right now, but do we want to talk any more about that during the meeting?
So just so it's clear, the original request, like changing the name of the balance team, of the errata team to the balance team, to me feels important because names are important. They matter. They help define things, but it's not. I'm not trying to cause trouble by asking for that change. I think the bigger problem is not empowering directors to structure their departments organically. You know, major structural changes should go through the board, but if I wanted to create a special team to do a special project right now, I can't technically do that. I mean, I can, but per the bylaws, that's not something I can do. So I do think this has exposed a problem that we need to fix. I just wanted to clarify where I was coming from, and I'm not asking for change for change's sake. I'm asking for change for, you know, Nick and I, and even Chris should be able to like empower committees and special projects without having to go through board level approval. We don't need, you know, we don't need that much bureaucracy in what we're doing.
Yeah, completely agree. I didn't realize it wasn't already the case, to be honest.
Yeah, and I would just speak up and say, you know, obviously this is, I think, our first or second lap around with these bylaws in place. Maggie did a great job getting them set up from nothing, right? We didn't have anything in place beforehand. Now we do. Now we have structured board meetings, and it's not surprising, right? As you go along, you find things that didn't exist or that you thought existed or you could have done, and we're just trying to, I don't want to say patch the holes or anything. It's nothing wrong with the bylaws themselves. It's just working within the framework of them versus practicality. And in this situation, Charlie should absolutely have the ability to change his team up to make it more efficient. We as directors should all obviously have the ability to delegate downwards to keep things moving so we don't just have stuff fall in the black hole. So, I mean, if any community members, we're not trying to abuse power. We're trying to just make it sure that the entire ship can keep on running, to keep using Charlie's analogy. And that's going to require some minor tweaks to the bylaws, which should be expected. So, I mean, I view it as totally something we should not have any issue doing.
Right. My goal is to make the bylaws reflect the reality of how we actually operate.
Correct.
And they provide a loose framework right now, and it's not necessarily accurate of how the board or how the organization as a whole ever operated or should necessarily operate in the future. I just my objective is to make the bylaws reflect what we are, what we're doing, and what we want to do, you know?
Yep. And I guess, I mean, the last thing I'll say is we obviously as a group realize it's a living document, right? I hate that term, but that's really what it is. You're going to keep shaping and evolving as technology changes, personnel change, job duties change, all those things within the organization. So to me, it's an extension of that. We're all empowered to uphold the bylaws, and we're trying to, like you said, Brian, actually work how they were written.
So yeah, I don't think, unless anyone absolutely wants to right now, we're not voting to amend any bylaws today. This was just a discussion on the fact that we are looking at how we go about changing the bylaws to reflect what the organization is.
There are a couple questions from Ross in the chat room.
Mm-hmm.
Would a special team for a special project, in quotes, as I said, be different from making a new set or something similar? I assume that's directed at me. I can't think of a good example, but if I wanted, if I wanted to create a new team to manage a particular format, or here's a better real example. I want to create a tribbles team. You know, a specific team of people tasked to manage tribbles. We don't have, like, that's not something that can be done in, it's more than, like, I consider design teams, those are temporary projects. This would be more like a permanent team. Like, we want a team to analyze the new TNG format, or we want a tribbles team. That's not something that the bylaws allow right now. temporary teams, I don't think should ever be covered because they're temporary.
I
His
actually think the Tribbles example is a very good one.
Yeah.
Because it's not, Tribbles isn't really spelled out in the bylaws as there's anything anyone does about it, you know?
And we did vote that change. We did make, I remember a year ago or so, we voted that Tribbles officially moved under Winnie. So that's a good
Right.
example. Yeah. So.
Right.
He also says, where do we see the line between someone helping out for a second and continuously spending a great deal of time and needs to be permanently under my supervision?
I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand that question either.
Well, I think that's probably referring to the meeting that we had last Saturday regarding second edition leadership. And, you know, at that moment, Nick, and you'll forgive me for being any, I won't bring any, at that moment last Saturday, Nick was having multiple crazies hitting him all at one time. So I apologize for, I won't go to, and we needed to say who was in charge, and things seem to have settled down quite a bit in the last week, thankfully for you, Nick. But, you know, so that, I think that's what Ross is referring to there. It's like, you know, part of the plan was who was going to take over which parts of Nick's duties while he's getting everything back under control in personal life. I think that's what Ross was referring to there.
Yeah, if I can just say, I mean, any one of us can be hit with personal stuff at any time. We may need a short break. So you have to have something there so you can have other people help you out temporarily. It kind of has to be within the premises we're working to, really. I just think it's sensible.
Yep. And from what it sounds like, that's absent from the bylaws, right? So we need to amend them so that, I think I use the analogy in the board chat. If I got hit by a car and I was in the hospital with a broken leg, well, I'm not going to be paying attention to organized play. I'm trying to heal in the hospital, right? So Jules and Michael, I would by default expect them to run with it. Currently, we can't do that. And that's what we need. I mean, I'm trying to just make it clear to the public, like currently our bylaws do not allow us to just delegate, which to me is ridiculous for, again, short time situations.
I think the spirit of the bylaws was the idea of the standing committees with each department are there, how those committees are formed, formatted, temporarily adjusted. I think the spirit of the bylaws allows for the directors to make those alterations, but without removing the core elements of each department.
No, it doesn't.
It does not.
It very specifically lays out what the committees are and what their jobs are. And there are no clauses that say that, you know, Charlie and Nick both want playtest managers. We have no wording in the bylaws that allows for such a position to exist or allows for them to create such a position. So we need that flexibility. So we need to have that ability built in. And in hindsight, me writing those parts of the bylaws was very, short-sighted. It's not in being so very, very definite in what the jobs of those committees do. You know, I wasn't thinking of what's going on in the future. I was codifying what was happening right now.
Well, and I don't think that's a problem. Nobody's faulting Maggie, I don't think, for this. It's just, the idea of the balance team wasn't a glimmer in my eye a year and a half ago when we were doing this. It's just sort of evolved naturally from where we are, you know.
Right.
But
the original,
yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
I was going to say the original bylaws, they just sort of translated what reality on the ground was at that time into words. And then we discovered, you know, there's other things that are involved in the organization that aren't covered. And so the idea of us rewording the bylaws and amending them is to provide that flexibility to actually reflect what we're doing. And part of that,
and what we might do in the future too.
Right.
without,
And-
yeah.
And part of that will probably be ensuring that there is, continuity of leadership if something does happen to a director, because that's missing right now.
I tie it all back. So Justin is right. What we're really trying to do, and what Brian's trying to do, is bring about the bylaws to actually reflect what we believe as a group the spirit of the bylaws is, not what is written. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I mean, but you're trying to get the bylaws to the point where they reflect what we want them to reflect.
Correct.
Ryan had a comment. The directors are answerable to the members. That's ultimate responsibility. As such, the directors should have ultimate authority within the scope of their departments. I think we agree with that statement, that we just need the bylaws to say that. They sort of do, but precision is good. There's going to be, I believe in precision without excess. So, we need to be precise without having to spell out literally every possible case, as precise as possible while being practical.
Right. The bylaws right now are very precise on what committees do. They're not necessarily practical on what they need to do. I think is one of the issues. They're very precise. They tell us what those committees do, and so they leave us very little wiggle room on changing things like even the name of them within the department. And are there other comments? Because I feel like I am taking over, repeating myself.
No, sorry.
It's clear that we need to amend the section on committees in the bylaws. And so I think, what's the next step of action? What do we need to do?
So I'm working on a draft of changes. So my draft has, formatting to show you what's being removed, what's being added. And then once we feel that that's, workable language, we can bring that before the board as amended bylaws, in which we'll vote on them, and then they would become in effect as soon as we voted on them. That would be the ultimate plan. And I apologize if I've made you guys feel rushed while I was discussing all the edits that I came across. That wasn't, I didn't want to make you guys feel like you had to vote on it right now. I started off with like, here's a small change we need to do. And then it snowballed into, well, there's all of this that we need to do.
Ryan, it definitely read to me like you went down a rabbit hole. You were like, I'm going to fix this one thing in 5 minutes. And then 2 hours later, you're like, holy shit, there's a lot of other stuff I need to fix.
Mm-hmm.
Totally get it.
But that would be the plan. We would finalize the edits we want to make and then present them at the board meeting and vote on adopting them. That's essentially how it would work.
You put it forth, probably wouldn't be a bad idea to do a request for comment from the general membership.
That would make sense, yeah. Rather than surprising everyone with, here's what we just voted on.
Yeah, put it out as an article, because there are interested parties who enjoy reading these kinds of documents and generally have good feedback on them.
I have no problem with that. We think we've gone around enough on this one.
I would concur.
Okay. The next one is another nice, probably lengthy topic. Dream card policy for the forum. And this was another one where I said, well, here's something simple I can propose and fix this. And it snowballed into, well, there are all these other issues we have to take into consideration. I personally would like to see us adopt a more lenient policy on dream cards on the forum. There are a lot of people out there who enjoy making dream cards or alternate image cards. They're, they enjoy the format of the cards for our games and like personalizing them. And I would like those people to feel welcome on our forum and in our, you know, community of the CC. So I would like them to be able to post their, you know, the stuff that they've worked on to our forum. And there's all these, you know, possible legal implications in, you know, copyrights for CBS and Viacom and Paramount, and copyrights for the artists themselves who make these cards, and that all made the suggestion a lot more complicated, and so the rules ended up getting more and more detailed, sort of like the bylaws did. So first, I just want to ask everyone else here, what do you think about allowing people to post their dream cards in graphical form to the forum? Like, I'm not asking you to vote to allow it. Just, you know, what is your opinion on whether or not this is something we would like to have happen?
I'm very wary of it because of our the copyright and fair use issues. I am intrigued by the idea of making a watermark for such, like a watermark available to those people, you know, who want to post that says, if you want to put a graphical dream card up in this board, you have to put this watermark over the top of it. So we know that, I think that that's sort of a minimal protection, but I'm not well enough versed in the legal implications of fair use and copyright law that I know that I understand where or what we can do with that. But I think that that's sort of the minimum protection that we need, besides a statement that up on the top of the dream card board that says that we do not endorse or condone the use of these, you know, of these cards. Any cards we produce that may resemble the ideas in the dream card forum are, it's like any on the ends of the movies, you know, any how did they phrase that?
Any likeness.
Any resemblance to persons alive or deceased is purely coincidental or what have you. Yeah, I mean, Charlie, you may probably know a lot more about this than I do.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Go ahead.
A dream card, why would we have more right to fair use than anyone else?
I'm not sure we do.
No, I don't think we do.
I think the main issue is people using images from Discovery and Picard and these active franchises that are going right now.
I don't think there's one main issue, and trying to reduce it to a main issue is going to muddy the waters. I've seen that post 3 or 4 times. This is the issue, and I keep thinking that's an issue. There's like 6 issues here.
There are multiple issues to this topic, and
so let's. My suggestion with all this is another one of those things that got out of hand. The issue was TK posted some cool alters that also included some dream cards, right? And therefore it was flagged by the moderators. The response should have been, remove the dream cards and it's fine, because we don't have a policy against alters. We never have. Lucas has done it a number of times. Alters are cool. There's nothing wrong with those. We have always had a policy against graphical dream cards. That policy was inherited from Decipher. We literally stole Decipher's text from their dream card forum and swapped it on our own. Dream cards got added to it and it immediately went off the rails. To me, the problem was, I want to be able to post these cool alters. Is that allowed or not? That's what I think we should solve now.
And I think that sounds simple, but that is also complicated by what happens if I have an alter with a Star Trek Discovery image. You're not escaping all of the other issues by saying it's that simple, because it's not. The exact same rule that you would use for the alters would work just as well for a dream card, or just as poorly.
Except, at least in first edition, if you put a Discovery image on there, you've altered the card in a gameplay relevant way, because it either doesn't match the property logo anymore, and property logo matters, or you've changed the property logo, which changes the card.
There's no saying, though, that the image of Michael Burnham in Jean-Luc Picard's place with everything else the same is a different card.
I guess
Okay.
I have two questions. One, why are the images not in the dream card forum? Right now, they're spilling out into every other spot of the board, right? They're on like gameplay, I think is where they are. If they stay in that box in the dream card forum, people who want to see them can go see them. People who don't have to. And two, to Charlie's point, I mean, it should be very clear. We operate within what Paramount allows us to do, which is movies and shows from before and not current stuff. So that to me seems very cut and dry. If you're using Discovery or Picard or any other show, new shows, images, you can't post them here. You run the risk of us getting into trouble.
So you would have us remove Edge of Hearing's alter images because they're based on comic books?
I don't know where that falls at all. I know we as a group know Discovery and Picard were not supposed to touch. So that to me is very obvious. But again, I still don't understand why they're not on the dream card forum. Like, I don't want to see dream cards. I generally don't care about foils either. So it's not a shot at anybody, but I don't want to see them in the gameplay forum. That's not where they go.
Well, here's the reality. If Lucas hadn't made a cool borderless card and posted it on the forum, the CC would never have made cool borderless cards that lots of people want to get. There's a direct line from that permission being given, implicit or otherwise, and a cool thing happening. And I think where I'm very sympathetic, I have conflicted feelings about all this. I am very sympathetic to the people that want the opportunity to have that happen for them. I've had 5 or 6 messages from people who are like, this lady's cards are sick, you should hire her. And I'm like, great. I mean, my response has always been, she's got to talk to Johnny. That's Johnny's call, you know? Like, I think they're awesome. But like I said, we've had a member post something cool that inspired a cool idea that led to an actual official product that we made. We should not deny others that opportunity within the bounds of legal protection. I understand that those are realities that we have to deal with. None of us are copyright experts, by the way. I don't think there's a single lawyer or copyright expert in the whole community. And the reality is the right thing to do is ask, and we can't, because asking gets you in trouble. The worst, I mean, that was the worst thing you do is call up CBS, Paramount, whoever, and say, can we do this? Because their answer always is no. It's always no. You ask, you're done. So we can't ask, which is the right thing to do. We're making guesses, and no offense to anyone here, we're making not even educated guesses. I know some stuff from experience. I know some stuff that I've been told secondhand, but I don't know answers to these legal questions. Probably the right answer is not allow any of it, but I hate that answer because, like I said, Lucas did a cool thing. We now have a cool thing. I want that ability to exist. I want people that are doing cool things to be able to do those cool things. That's my official take. The thing that we haven't talked about, and the watermark issue sort of solves this, is on a legal level, and so others have pointed this out, there's really nothing different from what we do than what a dream card creator does. You know, the term dream card, we probably should have retired. Again, we just stole that from Decipher. The only difference there is that we have, this organization has been given permission, so to speak, from the previous rights holder of the game to continue the game going. And that only exists as long as everybody accepts that is the case. You know, I mean, if everybody decided tomorrow that the CC is a joke and we're not going to support them anymore, then we don't have any authority to do anything. it's hard for us to argue from a position of, well, we're official when we're not. We're not doing anything different than a dream card creator does, as Nick pointed out. They're doing the same things we are. The question, the real issue is the worst thing that could happen is us getting shutting down. The second worst thing that could happen is somebody who doesn't understand sees those things, prints them out, puts them in a deck, and goes to a tournament. That's just an awful situation for everybody. That's why I'm not opposed to alters, because alters don't change the card. Like, honestly, if my friend wanted to show up and bring, hey, look, I made a reskin of the bridge crew with all the discovery people, I'm like, cool, that's awesome. You know, good for you. But if they made their own discovery cards, then I'm not going to want to play in a tournament with them. You know, we have things that we do to mitigate that. You know, people use the deck builder, people use Lackey. Those cards aren't in there. So if you're using default tools, you can't find Mr. So-and-so's Michael Burnham card, but it's such a complicated issue. Like, I share the desire to see more dream cards and alters, but I don't know how to do it.
So there is no simple way to do it, but I do believe that James Haney's last draft proposal would enable all of the things we currently have and all of the things we want, but it would also require stipulations that anyone posting these things has to adhere to. Watermarks, disclaimers, the original author has to post it themselves. It is more complicated than a simple solution saying do whatever the heck you want, but it is, I think, the only solution that enables the things we have today, which is Edge of Hearings, you know, comic book alternate images, and Romana's new alternate images that TK has been posting. Those things would still be possible. They would just have this rule of you have to make all the disclaimers and the author has to do it themselves. That's, I think Haney's proposal is the only way that that works and would continue to work. And I don't know if everyone's has read it yet, but it is on the forum from yesterday, I think.
Where is that on the forums?
It is in the FYI forum, Dream Card AI policy discussion. Haney's proposal was May 29th. It would be 11 a.m. Central Time.
I just posted the direct link to the chat here.
Thank you, Maggie.
Goes straight to, should go straight to his post. Yeah, I mean, it's not simple, you know, but I think that it follows. You know, I hate to say let's table this till next month, because we've done that an awful lot this meeting.
It's a complicated
yeah,
issue, and this definitely there's merit to get more research, do more investigation, and be able to report back on more factual and concrete stuff, I think.
Yeah, I think it's been a good discussion, but I personally don't feel like I'm ready to vote on something, on a policy right now.
So the issue with leaving it up in the air is that the moderators have no idea what to do. We have not set an official policy in any way.
And don't change the policy. Or
Yeah,
set the smallest amount of change that we can, which is if it's not a dream card, it's not restricted. That doesn't take alters away, doesn't let the existing posts, it doesn't require them to go back and change any of the existing posts. We just don't make a change right now. Or if we do make a change, we say, this is okay as long as they are follow all the other, like, obviously I can't post an alter of like porn just as much as I can't post porn, you know, there are existing rules to cover that. Like, look, I agree this is a complicated issue. If we're not prepared to rule on it, let's at least give them an answer. And the answer that I would like to give them is, these are fine. As long as if they're dream cards, they're not fine. If they're aesthetic alterations only, they're safe.
So for now, the policy would be, if the cards do not alter gameplay in any way, they are acceptable so long as they adhere to all normal rules of the forum.
Yes, and this should not be a punishable offense. At least, like, nobody should get in trouble for posting something and not knowing the rule. We just correct it.
Right.
The only thing I would amend or add to that is that they're not tournament legal. Like, I mean, I think that's already the case, right? Like right now, most of if it's not a tournament foil that you've received from the continuing committee, if it's a reskin or whatever, I know a lot of tournament directors are not going to enforce that, but the reality is they truly are not tournament legal. You shouldn't be printing sleeves of different cards that the CC didn't create and using them in your deck. That could cause issues at the tournament level, especially. I mean, right now, with everybody playing on Lackey, you can't do that anyway. You can't use a re-sleeve that's not tournament legal right now.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the OPG says you can't even play with black and white cards right now. So
Yeah,
I think we're covered.
Yeah, and that's part of the tournament director's that's part of the tournament director's discretion. You know, so if a couple of years ago, bring it back to Lucas, a couple of years ago, he did a reskin of one of the bridge crews, I forget which one, with Firefly images on it. And he sent those to me, like a copy of those, because I was like, oh, but like if somebody showed up at a tournament with those, me as a TD, I would be like, all right, you're here, you're playing, I'll allow it this time. But next time, I'm not going to kick anybody out of a tournament for that. So that discretion's up to the TD.
We can say whatever we want about what's allowed in tournaments, but that's a ground level decision.
Yes.
We only hear about it if somebody complains, and then we have an answer to that question. So.
I'm just making that point clear to Charlie's comment. The organized play guide, they are illegal. Whether you as a tournament director choose or choose not to enforce that, separate issue. TDs can run their tournaments however they want. I freely support that. But the official stance of the CC is these are not legal per the OPG.
Okay.
I think we just, if the answer is the mods want guidance, like I said, I think even someone in the chat room said this, we have no legal protection no matter what we do. The only thing we can do is sort of make a good faith effort. And I think that's what we're doing. And if the mods want guidance, the guidance is these are, if they're not altered except aesthetically, they're fine. Subject to all existing rules. But like I said, I don't want it to be an actionable, I don't want this to be something you get sanctioned for, So.
Well, I'm fine with agreeing to that as our policy for the forum. I'd still like to revisit it in the future, but for this particular meeting, anyone object to that being our official policy?
No. Nope. Policy's not changed. So yeah, it's still the same.
All right. Well, we'll consider that done for now. What else have we got? Maggie, you wanted to discuss what promos become available in July, and then are there any we're missing right now that should be printable?
I just wanted to make sure that is in the pipeline because we tend to forget those things. Just making sure that promo set P and 19 are listed as being printable on July 6th, along with several promo cards that I listed in the thread. So it's that was more of just a reminder that whoever takes care of that, I want to make sure that that's in motion. So those things are available. So we don't have the usual posts from people of, well, you said this was going to be printable. Why isn't it printable yet? Where's the 3 up? Where's the 9 up? So
I have alarms set on my calendar for June 1st and December 1st to get those going.
Thank you, Charlie.
We can talk about the rest. We've already run way late. I have some suggestions about delaying O and 19 just because COVID-19 has made it so people can't really get those. But we can talk about that offline.
Okay. I mean, we could still make them, there's plenty of kits. We can keep them available on the site as like an archive sale like we normally do. If we want to start moving forward on having them printable.
They're going to go to art to get made printable here next week. So things will be fun.
Awesome. Okay.
I think that's everything we have on the agenda. The one public comment was withdrawn for getting an answer in the forum. So anyone see any other public comments we want to address or should address?
Forgive the ignorance. What was the answer to Bajoran's being skipped over?
Cardassians came first, I think.
Oh, yeah. Duh. Yeah.
So the order that we use is 1E affiliation order. Not sure how that decision was made, but it was made. Romulan, Klingon, non-aligned, Borg, Cardassian, Bajoran. Bajorans are next year.
I mean, I just assumed you guys were right. Why are Borg before Cardassian and Bajoran? First Contact came after those other sets, right?
We just did it. They didn't have a place, and they don't appear on affiliation icons. So we just slipped them in because they looked cool. I don't recall there being another reason.
I think I was technically in charge at that moment in time, and I thought Borg came at I thought they were the next affiliation. I wasn't thinking about first anthology or the away team pack, and that those things came before First Contact because all of that was before my time. So I legitimately thought Borg was next. So if you want an answer of why Borg came before Cardassian, it was because I fucked up.
I mean, it should be Cardassian Ferengi Borg because First Anthology had Quark, son of Keldar.
Oh yeah.
Well, just so we're clear, for anybody who really cares about this stuff, the order screwed up. We acknowledge it's screwed up. We don't really know what to do. But Cardassians are this year, Bajorans are next year, and then it's Ferengi.
Dominion.
Probably.
Dominion.
Shit, I got it wrong. All right.
I can tell you the order I had. Hang on, I just had it up. I need to go pick it up.
Well, all right. I can't think past Cardassian, Bajoran, someone else. Let's just do those.
It's Cardassian this year, Bajoran, Dominion, Ferengi, Kazon, Vidian, Hirogen, Starfleet, Vulcan, something else that I haven't.
If we're still all here when Vulcan comes out, good Lord, that's 10 years down the line. I can't think about that.
Okay. So apparently we had the public comment anyway.
Right.
I think that's it for everything unless someone has something else. Anything at all. I know we like to talk here, so. All right. So if there's nothing else and no objection, we'll say that the meeting's adjourned.
John Corbett just asked, what about Worlds? And Nick's leave of absence. Well, he came in late, so we talked about those at the beginning of the meeting. Yep. So there's a part of me that wants to bring back my attitude and say, go back and watch the meeting. But addressing that, there will be an announcement about Worlds. What, this week, Chris?
Yeah, hoping to have an article about major tournaments this week. That's what we already covered.
Okay. And Nick is back.
I'm here.
Yep.
Nick, any objection to you from ending the meeting?
No, not at all. No.
All right. So we will adjourn this meeting officially, and next meeting sometime in June, near the end. We don't have a firm date yet.
End of June. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Oh, hang on, I'm tabbed out. I gotta click the button.